My name is George Sweny, and I'm the Vice President of Regulatory Affairs. And I work both on the FanDuel side of the business and the Flutter International side of the business for Flutter Entertainment. I'm going to harken back to a period of time that would have been in the mid 90s, late 90s, when I was on the Interprovincial Lottery Corporation board representing lotteries across Canada. And we attended a World Lottery Association meeting actually in Mexico. And it was the Canadian directors of the Interprovincial Lottery Corporation that really drove the World Lottery Association standards, which today are very high standards related to safer gambling, responsible gambling. And I remember at that time there being such a struggle by many members of the World Lottery Association embracing and trying to go with the kind of standards that in those days were nothing compared to what we have today. So that kind of sets a marker. And it was a really interesting conversation because there were so many people that were very nervous about committing to a set of responsible gambling standards that at the time were quite rudimentary. So that's evolved into a very robust program. And if you talk to anybody that has to go through that accreditation program, it is a very tough slug. So again, it has grown exponentially over the years. When I think about how the industry has, from a marketing perspective, from a customer perspective, used the kind of data that we all as operators have to engage customers in our gambling products, I've always been one to think about how else could we use that data. Now, today, we've heard in a number of panels at Discovery how important that AI is becoming, or machine learning is becoming, and obviously the data that we all have as operators. And I sit in a very large company called Flutter Entertainment right now, where we do have access to a lot of data. And how can we use that data to protect our players? And, that's a conversation that many organizations in the industry are having today and are taking far more seriously than my recollection of early days when there just wasn't the kind of commitment to sustainability and safer gambling that there is today. We are a leader in the sustainability, safer gambling, responsible gambling uh, context. And we are trying to demonstrate in every way that we can as an organization. Last year, we spent probably in excess of $140 million across our organization on responsible gambling efforts. We put our money where our mouths are, and we would really like the entire industry to follow down that path. And many are, but there are certainly various parts of the industry that aren't stepping up as quickly as they need to step up. And frankly, the industry is only as good as its weakest link. So that's cultural in our organization. We are committed to it. We want to lead it. We demonstrate it. So that's one aspect from a Flutter perspective. As I sort of stand back because I've really been on all sides of the coin here. I've been a regulator. I have been in the Crown corporations, both in BC and Ontario in my career. And there has been a lot of evolution in the industry, including from a regulatory perspective. I think in part it's cultural. I think in part it's regulation. I also think that the industry is recognizing that its reputation on a global basis is not where it needs to be. And it really doesn't matter whether you're on the continent of Europe, Asia, North America, Africa, Australia. The conversations are very consistent globally relative to the harm that the industry is causing. Now, do they have it all correct? No. The media is putting a lot of pressure on the industry, But do they understand what we understand? Yes, there are people that can be harmed, but there is a lot of media attention now on our industry, literally globally. And so I think that's also part of the change that we're seeing. The reputation of our industry is truly. So, again, from a cultural perspective, the tone from the top in our organization is very, very clear. We have a KPI, for instance, that says 75% of our customers on a global basis will be using at least one player protection tool by the year 2030. So that would be a huge portion of our player base. We continue to experiment with various opportunities to improve our tools and to improve the information we provide to our players so that they've got data that they clearly can see, clearly can understand, whether it's a product like real-time check-in where they can check in with exactly what they're doing and how much money they're spending, to my plan, which is, again, being able to set a plan, to set their particular limits, whether it's daily limits, weekly limits, and how much they want to spend on gambling. But we are in a constant discussion with our internal teams relative to the focus on responsible gambling, our commercial teams, and experimenting with what is next. So we are trying to look towards a framework that, from an independent academic basis, can help us clearly understand what tools are most effective, who's adopting them, why they're adopting them, and what the outcomes of those adoption rates are. So we are going to continue to research and test and measure everything that we're doing and try and make sure we understand the effectiveness of any of the tools that we taught. Well, I would say that, first of all, discovery has now become, in essence, recognized globally. So you will see people here today from all different parts of the world. There was a gentleman on a panel, the last panel that I was in, from Marina Bay Sands in Macau. Um, there are people here from the UK, there are people here from Australia, there are people here from Europe, the US. So that has changed. I think we have achieved recognition, RGC has achieved recognition that this is a leaders conference for responsible gambling. The content has always been a very rich dialogue. And I think you've got different perspectives, whether regulatory, whether government, whether industry, whether research. And all of those different types of stakeholders have attended discovery over the years. And I think we're getting more and more and more of those types of people in the discussion. And that's what's happened with discovery. It is a debate about how this industry can do better and must do better. So that's kind of been the evolution that I've seen.